Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Marker Pop, and today we are going to be using this Lawn Fawn set called Booyah, which is completely adorable, and we're going to be doing a little bit of partial die cutting, a little bit of Copics, a little bit of distress, a little bit of everything today. So for the partial die cutting, basically I do it pretty much the way I've seen everybody else do it. I certainly didn't come up with it on my own. But I went ahead and tacked down my circle die with a piece of washi tape, and then I'm going to let the end that I don't want to cut through hang off. So you want to try to line it up pretty straight. Mine was kind of crooked, but my sentiment was going to sit there anyway, so not the world's biggest deal. And then you just run that through, and then there's no pressure where there's no cutting plate, so it doesn't cut through. So you just peel it off, and it's still connected. This is no big deal. My Fiskars trimmer has a wire guide in it, so it shows me exactly where it's going to cut. So just line up my edges, start in the middle of the circle, go up, go down, pieces removed clean, and you just have a fun little like half moon die cut. So yeah, just something fun and different. I decided that I was going to just make my ghosts one full piece. So I have some masks that I've previously cut, and whatever you want to be in the foreground is what you stamp first. So the hat and the broom for the witch ghost would be in front of the ghost. So you stamp those, mask them, and then stamp your ghost. And when you peel them off, it looks like your ghost is wearing a cute little witch hat and carrying a little broom. So I did that for all of the images. I did the Bride of Frankenstein and then the little cat because I'm going to be using the Ghoul's Night Out sentiment. So I wanted them all to look like little ladies. And so here I'm just starting with my Copic coloring. The ghosts are supposed to be white. So I'm going to do very minimal shading, and I shaded them as if the spotlight was coming from the top center. So each ghost on the side is going to be, the one to the left will be shaded to the left, and the one on the right will be shaded to the right. So I just laid down a little bit of C1 and added some darker shading with some C3. The ghost in the middle, the light would be directly above her, so she'll just have shading on the top portion of it. And underneath the sucker, because that would cast a shadow below. So this is just really super quick and easy shading for the blacks. I'm going to use the same C family. I'm just going to be using the darker shades of it is all. And you know, black is never just black. It's always, depending upon where the light is, it's lighter where the light would hit it. So this witch, the light is going to be to the right, so it'll be darker on the left. I'm going to color the whole thing in with C3. This is going to be my lightest color because this hat is supposed to be black. And then I'll go in with C5 and add some shading from the left-hand side, and then C9 as well to really give it the appearance of looking black. I think they have like a C, is it a 10, I think is, or no, maybe it's 100. I think the just straight 100 is straight black, and I don't even own that one because I'm able to get a look of black with just the cool grays that I own. So I'm doing the same thing for the cat. She's going to be a little black cat, and the tail, I laid down my C3, but then I basically went over the whole thing with my C5 because the ghost body would be blocking that light. So adding just a little bit of darker shading on the furthest edges of the left. And then here I picked up the wrong marker. I thought I picked up C5. I actually picked up C3. And so I'm blending it out, and I'm like, this ain't looking right. And then I pick up the next one and start, and you can see I'm like, pause, because that's not right. So make sure you look. Kathy Rakusin always says to make sure that you test and check your markers. Well, apparently I even have to do it while I'm in the middle of an image because I'll pick up the wrong thing. So I picked more, I guess, bright Halloween colors because that's what I prefer. So I'm going in with some violets, and then later on I'll use some oranges and some yellow greens. But we're just doing the same thing. I'm starting with my darkest or my lightest color, working to my darkest, and then going in reverse. For her hair, because of the way that Kelly Marie drew it, it appears to be like curly. So I laid down one layer of V12, and then I'm going to go in with the VO4 and add in just like little half moons. So that way it gives her hair some texture. It's just not one solid piece. And here you'll see me hold my marker from above so I can check where my shadows are going to be around the bow. And you'll see me do that in my videos all the time. I'm trying to see what it's going to look like because my light source on my desk was actually directly above, so that's really easy to see where it lays with my hand. And it's just, you know, a good way to double check when you're doing an image how something's going to look. So if you have a light source on your desk, put it where you think or where you're trying to shade your image from, and then look at the natural shadows that are occurring in real life, and they'll give you a good idea of where those go. So I just added a little bit of V12 in the ears so they weren't just plain white. And here I'm using some yellow reds, oranges basically. Copic calls them yellow reds. You call them whatever you want. I call them oranges. To add some shading. I would have preferred to go with a brighter orange, but I wanted to be able to carry the color throughout my card, and I thought that broom would look weird as what? Like bright orange. So I went with a more subdued colors, and I think it works okay. So again, these are really tiny images, so you're not going to be doing a ton of shading, because if you lay down too much ink, it'll start to bleed out of your lines, and it'll just mess up your whole image, and nobody wants that. So then I decided, you know, to add in a couple YGs, and I did go over his buckle, her buckle on her hat, with the YR21, my lightest one, because I thought I was going to make it that orangish gold color, and I decided not to because it's such a light color. I was able to go over it with the yellow greens, and it wasn't even an issue. Like, you don't even know that that color was there. So everything's fixable. Don't you give it a try before you give up on it. And then for the sucker, I didn't want it to be one solid shade, so I just added little flicks of color. And I'm just going back in with some browns for the handle of the sucker and the broom. And I decided that the handle for the broom was big enough to add a little bit more shading into, so I added some E59 as well. And of course, can't make anything without my white gel pen detailing. So I went in and added some stripes and then some polka dots to her bow. Now here I'm going back in with my VO4, and I left this in even though you can't see what I'm doing, because I do this quite often when I'm doing shading. So you can see now that you can actually see the image. The left hand side is a little bit darker. I took my VO4 and went up just over that white out, or the white gel pen on the left hand side. Now I have been told that this can ruin your nibs, so if you don't want to risk it, don't do it. I haven't had any problem with it. So I outlined my images like I normally do with a journaling pen. I fussy cut them out, and then I used a Memento Tuxedo black marker to just clean up the edges so it would be like a really clean look. I didn't want to leave the background of the half moon just white, so I'm using My Favorite Things polka dot stencil. I think it's just called polka dot. And I'm going in with some mowed lawn, so I have like a tone on tone look, and I didn't even take it all the way to the top. I wanted it to fade out. But here, once I checked where I wanted my circle to be, I wanted to be able to actually see some of the polka dots, so I ended up adhering that piece a little off the top and just trimming it off. I'm using some green craft foam for the bottom and then some regular foam tape for the top to give it a little bit of dimension, so my ghosts can be popped up. And here I'm just checking the placement, seeing what I want to do, and I ended up adding a liquid adhesive to the left so it would hang out of the circle, and then using foam tape on the center where it would be popped up off that green. If I had to do it all over again, I'd probably move those polka dots up even farther, because in the final card you can't really see them at all. I mean, I know they're there, you know they're there because you're watching this video, but you can't really see them in the final product. So now that I have all my little ghosts arranged, I'm going to go in and work on the sentiment. And this is like a complementary purple color to the Bride of Frankenstein's hair. And I'm super into like white heat embossing my sentiments on colors or on black right now. So I'm doing that again. Isn't it funny how we just stick with things. Like there's just, you get stuck in a rut with certain things and you can't stop doing them. So I decided I was going to heat emboss in black. I didn't want it to be white because I didn't feel like it showed up. So I ended up committing to the black, and then I'm just cutting a little banner out of that. And it looked kind of plain when I put it down with just the banner. So I'm using a piece, a real thin strip of die cuts with a view black glitter paper. I just added that behind it to give it a little more shine, and just something that was a little more interesting. So I added that to the bottom, and I'm just trimming off so that the sides are even. And here I'm adding white Wink of Stella to the ghost, and I'm adding clear to the accents, so to the buckle, to the bow, and then to the little cat's ears. I did want to mention that in the what is that called? The paper bag that the cat's carrying, I didn't cut out the white piece. I just colored it with a Copic marker that matched, and that worked for me. So this is basically the card, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll step over to the Marker Pop blog and visit, and you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you later. Bye.